And he does that, actually, he does it twice, and then he kind of does it in double time. So it's... and halfway through, again, I didn't count how many times he did this, but halfway through or somewhere in there, he goes from bending the 12th fret on the B string up a step and a half to bending the 13th fret instead up a whole step. So he moves his third finger on the B string. Instead of bending the 12th fret up a step and a half, he goes to the 13th fret and bends that up a whole step. So it's... and it just sounds a little different because that first bend is a kind of a longer bend. And then this one's a little shorter, because it obviously doesn't have as far to go. It's just a little subtlety. You don't have to do that. If you feel more comfortable bending just the 13th fret up a whole step, nobody will ever know. And it's a little harder to do that step and a half bend, especially if you're using like 10s or 11 gauge strings. Then after he does that, I don't know, 10, 11 times, how many times he does it, he goes into the... he bends up the 12th fret up a step and a half on the E string, bends it back down, then he plays the 10th fret on the E string, then on the B string he plays the 13, 10, then on the G string he plays the 12, then he goes back to the 10th fret on the B string. So that whole thing is... and again, don't be afraid to scrape those strings instead of just playing. Really dig in. So it's... and this is where he does a repeating phrase a few times. He bends that 12th fret of the E string up a whole step, or step and a half. And then he goes down from the 10th fret on the E string to the 13, 10 on the B string. And he repeats that phrase 3 times. So... then he holds the 4th one out. And then he walks down that phrase again from 10 on the E string, 13, 10 on the B string, 12 on the G string. And then he plays the 10th fret on the B string twice. So that's... and then he ends the phrase basically with the 12th fret of the B string bending up a half step up and down, and then playing the 10th fret of the B string. So that whole thing, one more time, is... and then he gets into this section where, again, if I play this as many times as he plays it, I think it's like 9 or 10 times he plays it, he's just pounding on that A note on the E string on the 17th fret. So it's... and again, don't be afraid if you get some other strings in there. Try and mute the other strings if you can, but if you, instead of just getting this, try and get... you know, where you're really breaking down. Especially with the groove that's going on below it. It really adds to the intensity of the solo. So after he does that like 9 or 10 times, he actually hits the 17th on the B string 1 time in between there, like at the end. I think he does like maybe 9 times or 10 times. Then he goes back to that A note 2 or 3 more times. And then he bends the 19th fret on the E string, up a whole step, and he bends it up and down, and then he plays the 17th fret on the E string. So it's... Then he bends that 17th fret up a step and a half this time. So then he bends the... I'm sorry, that was the 19th fret up a step and a half. So the first time the 19th fret's going up a whole step. Then it goes up a step and a half. Then he plays the 20th fret and bends that up a whole step. He does that twice, bends it down, and then ends on that A note. So then he goes into this double stop thing. It's really a cool riff. You could think of it out of, again, most of this is all A major pentatonic. So you bar with your first finger the 17th fret of the B and the E string, and then you play those two notes together, and then you hammer on with your third finger the 19th fret. I'm sorry, the 19th fret of the B string. So then you play that double stop again of the 17th fret. So that's... And then he pivots from the 19 to the 17 back to the 19 on the G string. So that whole thing is... So... Then he goes to the... He plays the first finger on the G string 16th fret, second finger's on the 17th fret of the B string. So that kind of looks like a D chord shape. And you're basically hammering on the 18th fret of the G string. So, and then you play that double stop again. So that's... Then he goes down an octave to the 5th fret, and he does the same thing. So that's barring the 5th fret of the B and the E string, hammer on the 7th fret with your third finger on the B string, and then you play that double stop again. But instead of pivoting from 7-5-7 on the G string, he goes 7-5 on the G string down to 7 on the D string. So that whole thing is... And this time he plays the shape of the first finger on the 4th fret of the G string, the second finger on the 5th fret of the B string, and then you're hammering on with the third finger on the 6th fret of the G string. And he does that twice. So he hammers on once, and he goes back to that initial shape and hammers on again. So that whole thing is... And when he hammers on that second time, he slides that 6th fret on the G string down to the 4th fret and pulls off to the 2nd fret. So again, if you're... That's all if you want to look at it as F minor pentatonic, but it's A major pentatonic. So then he does a phrase where he bends up, he does your typical blues kind of thing where you bend the 4th fret up a whole step on the G string, then you bar the 2nd fret of the B and E string, then he plays the 5th fret with his pinky on the B string, then he rolls that finger down back onto the G string, and he slides from the 5th fret to the 4th fret, or he can be doing like moving his hand quickly somewhere up here and doing a quick slide on the G string to that 4th fret. So pivots off from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret, back to the 2nd fret on the G string. So that's... And then he does this riff, again, one of those beginning riffs where he slides into the 6th fret of the G string, then he bars the 5th fret of the B and E string, goes back down to the 5th fret of the B string, plays the 8th fret of the B string, and slides up a whole step to the 10th fret. So that whole thing is... And you can let those 2 notes ring together. It kind of sounds cool. So, and then he just does a, but he pulls his hand up here, and he kind of slides it. So, and you kind of hear some of those notes go. Then he gets into a clean section where... yeah, and all that stuff, I'm not going to get into all that, but all that stuff is basically, at that point, A minor pentatonic, so... That's just A minor pentatonic there, and then... Again, just slow bluesy kind of phrasing at that point. So anyway, that's the whole lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope it really helps out to see why, like, the beginning of that, even though you're only playing 4 notes, why it really works solidly over a whole chord progression, because it's outlining, again, chord tones. So when you're playing pentatonic, just pick 3 or 4 notes and really try and bend or move those notes around to really emphasize the chord that you're playing over. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to do a bunch more. We're going to do a bunch more John Mayer stuff because we've gotten... I can't express how many requests. We've gotten probably more requests on his stuff than any of the other stuff. Maybe kind of matching the Scott Henderson requests. But anyway, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Check out guitarbreakdown.com, and if you like this, please click like on the thing below. Also, subscribe if you haven't already. All these things really help let us know that you guys really enjoy this, and keep sending us the emails and the questions and the comments. It's really helps motivate us to keep doing this. So I thank you guys for watching this, and I'll see you on the next lesson. Thanks.